ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 70, Lord Krishna's Daily Activities, Text 39. Jivasya samsarato vimokshanam na janato narthavahat shariratah लीलावतारे स्वयश प्रदीपकं प्राज्वालयत्वा तमहं प्रपद्ये। जीवस्य संसरतो विमोक्षणम् न जानतो नर्थवः शरीरतः लीलावतारे स्वयश प्रदीपकं प्राज्वालयत्वा तमहं प्रपद्ये। जीवस्य संसरतो विमोक्षणम् न जानतो नर्थवः शरीरतः लीलावतारे स्वयश प्रदीपकम् प्राज्वालयत्वा तमहं प्रपद्ये। Vaishnavis. Word meaning? Jivasya, for the conditioned living being. Yaha, he, the Supreme Lord. Who? Samsarataha, the conditioned soul, caught in the cycle of birth and death. Vimokshanam, liberation. Na janata, not knowing. Anartha, unwanted things. Vahat, which brings. Sharirataha, from the material body. Leela, for pastimes. Avatare, by his appearance in this world. Swa, his own. Yashaha, fame. Pradipakam, the torch. Prajvalayat, made to blaze. Tva, you. Tam, that Lord. Aham, I. Prapadye, approach for shelter. Translation. The living being caught in the cycle of birth and death does not know how he can be delivered from the material body, which brings him so much trouble. But you, the Supreme Lord, descend to this world in various personal forms, and by performing your pastimes, you illumine the soul's path with the blazing torch of your fame. Therefore, I surrender unto you. Purport. Srila Prabhupada writes, Narada said, in the bodily concept of knowledge, everyone is driven by material desires, and thus everyone develops new material bodies one after another in the cycle of birth and death. Being absorbed in such a concept of existence, one does not know how to get out of the encagement of the material body. Out of your causeless mercy, my Lord, you descend to exhibit your different transcendental pastimes, which are illuminating and full of glory. Therefore, I have no alternative but to offer my respectful obeisances unto you. My dear Lord, you are the supreme Parabrahman, and your pastimes as an ordinary human are another tactical resource, exactly like a play on the stage in which an actor plays parts different from his own identity. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsya Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratvashe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone to this morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. We seek the blessings of all the Vaishnavas, especially many senior Vaishnavas present here. Seek your blessings so that we can discuss some valuable points from this verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yesterday, His Grace Sarvam Prabhu had already described the background of these verses, described how Narad Muni, after visiting the various palaces and seeing the daily activities of Lord Krishna, now is offering various prayers to the Supreme Lord. And Lord Krishna glorifies Narad Muni, that how Narad Muni is awarding fearlessness to everyone wherever he travels. And so therefore, here Narad Muni in turn is glorifying the Supreme Lord. And here he is saying that, no, actually, I cannot drive away fearlessness. All the living entities in this material world, because of samsara, material existence, are put in so much of fearful condition. But it is only by your mercy that you descend into this world to perform so many pastimes through your various Leela avatars. And that is why it's only you who can actually dispel the fear of all the living entities in material existence. That is what Narad Muni is telling in this verse. And so here, there are two important points that are mentioned in this verse. The first point is the situation of the jivas in this material world. And the second point is the solution for the jivas to come out of the fearful condition of material existence. So there is the disease and there is the remedy for the disease. Both have been mentioned in this verse. So what is the disease? The disease is jivasya samsarato. All the jivas have been put in samsara, the material existence. And because of that, samsara, the result is sharirataha. In sansar, as soon as the jiva comes into this material world, there is a sharira, there is a body. And what is the result of the body? The result of the body is suffering. So many anarthas and so many unwanted things, so many anarthas and sufferings because of the material body. So as soon as one gets a material body, as sometimes it is said, shariram vyadi mandiram. The sharir is a source of so many vyadis, so many suffering, so many diseases. So there's nothing to be proud about this body. Therefore, sometimes it's said, just like a criminal, when he's put in the jail, he's given a special dress, jail dress. You may have seen. So as soon as somebody sees the person with the jail dress, what does it go to show? Person is criminal. As soon as one sees the dress. So similarly, we have come into this material world and we have got this sharira, this body. This is what? This material world is jail. This body is jail dress. So, as soon as one has a material body, one has to understand that one is what? One is criminal. So as one devotee was saying, early morning, one sees the face in the mirror and one may be very proud of one's beauty. But as long as one sees a material body in the mirror, what does it indicate? Criminal. So nothing to be proud. It is only an identity that I'm only a criminal in this world. And so, just as criminal gets so much of suffering, punishment in the jail, so similarly in this material world, we only get so much of suffering and punishments. And then Narad Muni is saying, but what is the problem with the jivas? Vimokshanam na janato. He's caught up in this material world, suffering so much, but he does not know, na janato, vimokshanam, how to get out of this material world, that he doesn't know. He's simply caught up in this material world. So the topic that we will try to discuss today is surmounting the insurmountable material energy. So this is the theme that we will try to discuss. So the material energy, which is the cause of one's material existence, is insurmountable. Devesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. Atyaya means to cross, duratyaya, very difficult to cross, insurmountable material energy. But yet, if we want to get free from all these miseries, then one has to surmount it. Quite a paradox, isn't it? It's insurmountable, but yet the solution is one has to surmount. So first of all, let us discuss why the material energy has been described as insurmountable. And what are the effects of the material energy by which one is so much trapped in this material world that getting out becomes practically impossible for the jiva. Yesterday, as Sarvam Prabhu was describing, by the influence of the material energy, all the jivas are put into 5 types of conditions. The 5 types of conditions are avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, and abhinivesh. So first is avidya. So avidya means one fails to understand what is temporary, what is eternal. One mistakes that which is temporary to be eternal. One mistakes that which is cause of distress to be the cause of happiness. So in this way, due to ignorance, one cannot differentiate between reality and illusion. The next is asmita. So asmita means false ego. So one misidentifies with the body and everything else in relationship to this body, and one thinks that this entire material world, everything is meant for my enjoyment. That is called asmita. And so therefore, once he misidentifies with the body and thinks everything is meant for my enjoyment, then whatever is favorable for sense gratification one gets attracted and attached. That's called raga. One develops raga, attachment for whatever is conducive for sense gratification. And whatever is not conducive for sense gratification, dvesha. One develops hatred. One doesn't want it. And abhinivesh means one becomes absorbed. One becomes absorbed in this raga and dvesha in this material world. And so therefore, anything which is detrimental to this raga and dvesha, one is very afraid of that. And ultimately, what is going to end all this raga and dvesha business is death. And so therefore, one becomes very fearful of death. Because at the time of death, everything that I am attached to is going to be taken away. So, these are the 5 factors which keep the living entity bound in the material world. So, we find that in this material existence, as Srila Prabhupada would often say, due to the bodily misconception, one wants to become the Lord of all I survey. When Srila Prabhupada went to Japan to negotiate with the Dai Nippon company for publishing the Bhagavad-gita, at that time he was having a meeting with all the managers and executives of the company. So all of them had a meeting with Srila Prabhupada. At the end of the meeting, all the various managers and CEOs of the company, they left their visiting cards on the table. Everyone left except for one person. So Srila Prabhupada began to speak to that person. Srila Prabhupada asked him, so what is the goal of your life in this world? So the young man, He picked up all the visiting cards of the various managers which were present on the table. He stacked them up in a pile in his hand. He took his own visiting card, he placed it here, and then he placed it on the top. He said, this is the goal of my life. So very powerful message through body language. Nothing much needs to be said. Person from down, he wants to be on the top. So that is what everyone is trying to do in this world. Everyone is trying to become the Lord, the boss of all I survey. And that becomes the cause of one's material existence, this desire. As Srila Prabhupada is writing in the purport, in the bodily concept of knowledge, everyone is driven by material desires, and thus everyone develops new material bodies. So it is because of these desires to enjoy that one develops material bodies. Purusha prakriti stohi bhungte prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangasya sadasad yoni janmasu. Because of the living entity trying to become the Purusha and the enjoyer, therefore he develops various material bodies. So this is the cause of material existence. But then, unfortunately, even though the Jiva is thinking, I am the Purusha, I am the Lord, and I can control everything in this world, but the reality is, he is simply being controlled. In illusion, he thinks, I am the controller, I can control everything. But the fact is, one is simply controlled. What can he control? Srila Prabhupada gives a simple example. He says, what can we control? Even if we eat a little more than required, we all have experience. What happens? Prabhupada says, for next 3 days, one will have to fast. So even that much one cannot control. But yet, the living entity is put into so much illusion by the avaranatmika shakti. Yesterday, Sarvam Prabhu also was telling. So there's avaranatmika shakti and the prakshepatmika shakti. These are two potencies of the illusory energy. The avaranatmika shakti covers the living entity to think that he is the enjoyer in illusion, because unless he's covered, unless he's put into ignorance, he cannot enjoy. Right? If one knows that this property belongs to somebody else, how can I enjoy? So therefore, he has to be put into ignorance. So he's put into ignorance, and then prakshepatmika shakti is the throwing potency. Srila Prabhupada translates the throwing potency or the kicking potency. Then he's thrown into this material existence, and in one lecture, Srila Prabhupada says, then he's kicked like a football. He's kicked like a football from one material body to another, from one country to another, from India to America to Japan to China. He's kicked, he's given so many material bodies, and that is the prakshepatmika shakti. And that is because of the soul desire of the soul to enjoy. That is the root cause. But the Jiva doesn't understand this. He thinks that I am the controller. And so, materialistic people, if they are told that no, you are not the controller, you are not the enjoyer, they will say, come on, what are you saying? I am the controller, I can eat whatever I want, I can drink whatever I want, I can do whatever I want. But they are blinded by the fact that they are blinded by ignorance, so much so that they cannot understand what will be the consequences. In this regard, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told a story. I'm sure you have heard this quite a few times. So he told the story of a frog who once got a 1 rupee coin. So the frog, when he got the 1 rupee coin, he was thinking that he has become the richest person in the world. And so he's become so powerful that he is the supreme controller. And so therefore, one day as he was walking on the road, so an elephant was coming from the opposite direction. So the frog, infatuated with pride, he started ordering the elephant, come on, get out of the way. I'm the richest person. See, I've got this 1 rupee coin. What did the elephant care? The elephant continued to walk. And as the elephant was coming closer, the frog raised its voice. And the frog was shouting, get out of the way. I'm the most powerful, richest person. The elephant continued to walk. And as the elephant came very close with his huge feet, the frog really got afraid. But then, as the elephant walked past, fortunately, the big legs of the elephant missed the frog, and the frog thought itself saved. But then, as the elephant went ahead, from behind, a huge quantity of excreta came and submerged the richest person of the world within a moment. It doesn't take more than a moment. So, in this way, the foolish materialistic people challenge material nature and they think that, okay, material nature is posing so many different difficulties, but we, with all our scientific advancements, can overcome all these challenges posed by material nature. But we have enough experience how, when the challenges come in the form of various diseases like corona and tsunamis and so many other things, even the most powerful nation with all their armies or whatever, who can do anything? Everyone becomes totally insignificant. So that is the power of the illusory energy. That's the power of the material nature. So the point that Narad Muni is saying is that the jivas, they don't understand how to come out of the suffering condition. Vimokshanam na janato. And so the important point is that even as devotees, sometimes we may fail to understand the power of this illusory energy, which covers everyone. From the topmost living entity, Brahmaji, to the smallest living entity, everyone is being influenced by the three modes, by the illusory energy. And so therefore, as Srila Prabhupada did say, that my only complaint is that my devotees are not sufficiently afraid of Maya. And we see that how the illusory energy which binds the living entities, we have been bound by the three modes since time immemorial. Therefore, Nitya Baddha. And therefore, to come out of this Baddhata, this conditioning, is very, very difficult. And therefore, even when one comes to the practice of devotional service, we find that the influence of the material modes continues. And unless one is very alert and determined, and one has strong spiritual practices, there is always a tendency to be influenced by the lower modes. In the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita, 10th verse, Lord Krishna explains that how the influence of the three modes is not a static condition, it is very dynamic. He says that there is always a competition between the three modes for supremacy. So therefore, even though for some time it may appear that I am in the mode of goodness, if one is not careful, then immediately one will be influenced by rajas and tamas. Right? So therefore, it requires constant practice and determination. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we have the well-known example of Bharat Maharaj. That how Bharat Maharaj, even though he was on such an elevated platform of devotional service, but still, because of the attachment to the deer, he lost his chance to perfect his life in one lifetime. So we see that how Bharat Maharaj's compassion, which is a wonderful quality. Compassion is a wonderful quality for a devotee. But Maya is so tricky that Maya used that very quality of compassion to trap Bharat Maharaj. So that very compassion, when misplaced, became the cause of bondage for Bharat Maharaj. That is how Maya is so tricky. So Srila Prabhupada explains in those purports that yes, okay, Bharat Maharaj saved the deer, that was wonderful, his compassion. But then the problem was that again, because of the same mentality that I am the controller, I am the maintainer, I am the enjoyer, Bharat Maharaj began to think that I am the maintainer of this deer. If I am not there, what will happen to this deer? So he assumed the false role of the maintainer of the deer. not understanding that ultimately Krishna is the ultimate maintainer. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetanam eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman. Krishna is the ultimate maintainer. But Bharat Maharaj thought, no, if I don't take care of this deer, who will take care? And because of this mentality, there was influence of Rajogun. The influence of Rajogun is manifested by attachment, Sangha and Trishna. So thus he became attached to the deer. And then we know how he could not practically live without the deer. Wherever the deer went, he was accompanying. And even when he was doing puja, he was doing archana, even that time he was thinking, where is my deer? So, therefore, it is said, you are where your mind is. So, we could be in a class, we could be on the altar, anywhere we could be. But actually, one is where the mind is. As is sometimes said, physically present, mentally absent. So, but then ultimately, it is the subtle body which is so very powerful, and it is the subtle body which decides the next destination. So, therefore, training the subtle body is something which is very important. Sarvam Prabhu was telling this point yesterday. How the three modes actually influence the subtle body. So, we find that Bharat Maharaj, because his absorption was in the deer, so therefore, he lost his chance to perfect his life in one lifetime. That's how he got tricked by Maya. Now, so Bharat Maharaj is one example. In the, of course, Bhagavatam, we also have the example of Saubhari Muni. How Saubhari Muni also, same problem. What was the problem? He was thinking, I am the maintainer of the fishes within the water. The fishes became his friends because there was no human being within the water. He was performing tapasya. So he thought, I am the maintainer of the fishes and Garuda is taking away the fishes, so it is my duty to protect them. And therefore, he cursed Garuda. That became Vaishnava Prad, and as a result, that caused obstruction within his spiritual practices. He had to come out of water and marry 50 queens. So all these are the effects of the illusory energy. How the illusory energy influences one to think, I am the controller, I am the maintainer, I am the enjoyer. Though Krishna says, Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Surudam Sarva Bhutanam, but the living entity under the influence of Maya takes those same roles. And that becomes the cause of his entanglement within the material world. Within the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have example of Kala Krishna Das. So Kala Krishna Das was in direct association with the Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. But just see the power of the illusory energy, that even though one may be in direct association with the Supreme Lord, even then one can be influenced. That is the power. So we know how Kala Krishna Das was allured by the Bhattaharis with some women, and then Kala Krishna Das went away with them. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he went over there. He said, see, I am a sannyasi, renounced man. I also need one assistant. They were also in the garb of sannyasis. So they said, you are also sannyasis, I am also sannyasi. See, both of us have the same requirement, to give my assistant back. So they said, forget it, we are not going to give. And they came with weapons to attack Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But then, by the influence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mystic potency, all the weapons, they dropped from their hands and they attacked them only. And then all their bodies were cut to pieces, they fled away. And then Mahaprabhu caught Kala Krishna Das by the hair and brought him back. So he brought him back to Jagannath Puri. As soon as he came back to Jagannath Puri, he told Sarvam Bhattacharya, now see this Kala Krishna Das, he came to assist me, but this is what happened with him. So now I don't want to have him as assistant. So there, so Mahaprabhu says, now that I brought him here, I am asking him to leave. Now he can go wherever he likes, for I am no longer responsible for him. Srila Prabhupada gives a very wonderful purport here. I would like to read this as it is. Kala Krishna Das was influenced and allured by nomads or gypsies who enticed him with women. Maya is so strong that Kala Krishna Das left Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's company to join gypsy women. Even though a person may associate with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he can be allured by Maya and leave the Lord's company due to his slight independence. So the cause of the entire problem is what? Independence is there, but the misuse of that independence. And that misuse can happen at any time, even though one may be directly with the Supreme Lord. Due to his slight independence, only one who is overwhelmed by Maya can be so unfortunate as to leave Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's company. Yet, unless one is very conscientious, very nice word Prabhupada is using, unless one is very conscientious, that means one is conscious of what one is doing, what are one's thoughts, what are one's desires, where am I going? So unless one is very conscientious, the influence of Maya can drag one away, even though he be the personal assistant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and what to speak of others. If a personal assistant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can be dragged away by Maya, then what to speak of anybody else? The Bhattaharis used to increase their numbers by using women to allure outsiders. This is factual evidence showing that it is possible at any time to fall down from the Lord's association. One need only misuse his little independence. That is the only thing what is required. One only has to misuse his little independence, and then wherever one may be, one can become a victim of Maya and leave the Lord's service. Once fallen and separated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead's association, one becomes a candidate for suffering in the material world. And that is exactly what Narad Muni is telling here. So once one comes into this samsara, then one gets sharira, one gets the body, and one is put through so much suffering condition. Although rejected by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Kala Krishna Das was given another chance, as the following verses relate. So this is the power of the material energy. And so therefore, the important point, the important lesson for us is how one always needs to be, as Prabhupada is writing here, conscientious. One needs to be very alert and be very conscious of what am I desiring, where am I going, in which direction am I going. And so therefore, understanding the power of the illusory energy, which is Krishna's Maya, Krishna's energy, as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his teachings to Sanatana Goswami, in the 20th chapter on Madhya Leela, he again tells this well-known verse, Maya mugda jivera nahi swata Krishna gyan, jivera kripaya kela Krishna Veda Puran. So he says, Maya mugda jivera nahi swata Krishna gyan. On his own, to come back from ignorance to knowledge, to come out of the influence of the illusory energy on his own, swataha, it is very difficult because the influence is very strong. And so therefore, jivera kripaya kela, having compassion on the jivas, the Lord himself in the form of Vyasadeva has given the Vedas and the Puranas. So the important point is, on one's own, it is very difficult. Understanding the insurmountable nature of the material energy, therefore, one needs to surrender to the one who is the controller of that energy. Srila Prabhupada gave a simple example. So he said that just like if you enter into somebody's house and there's a dog, and the dog attacks, a fierce big dog attacks, barking loudly, about to bite. So the person, if he tries to chase the dog, not possible. So what is the solution? The solution is call out to the owner of the dog. As soon as one calls out to the owner of the dog, and the owner of the dog calls the dog, whatever be the dog's name, Jimmy, Timmy, whatever. If he calls out, then immediately the dog will go back. So therefore, The only solution to the problem is one has to understand that it is beyond my capacity to overcome this insurmountable energy. And therefore, the solution is to humble oneself and take shelter of the Lord and the Lord's devotees. And therefore, Brahmaji in his prayers, after the Brahma Vimohan Leela, he prays this well-known verse, Jnane prayasamudapasya namanta eva jivanti sanmukharitam bhavadiyavartham sthane sthita shrutigatam tanuvan manobhir ye prayasho jita jito apites trilokyam. So he says, Jnane prayasam, give up the speculative tendencies. Speculative tendencies arise from Rajagun, where one thinks, I can figure out things on my own, I can do things on my own, I can find out who is the absolute truth. So all these mental speculative methods are influence of Rajagun. So he says, Udapasya, give them all up. Then what to do? Namanta eva. Namanta. Surrender. Be humble. Understand, it is beyond my capacity to understand the Supreme Lord and to come out of the clutches of the material energy. Therefore, namanta eva, and do what? Jivanti san mukaritham bhavadiya vartam. And then surrender to the Supreme Lord's glories and the glories which are sung by the Lord and His devotees. Surrender to those glories of the Supreme Lord. How? Tanu van manobi, with one's body, words, mind, with one's body, engage in the services of the Supreme Lord, with one's words, glorify the same thing what the Lord has spoken, same thing glorify, and with the mind, constantly meditate on the Lord's service, how to render service to the Supreme Lord. In this way, with body, mind, words, when one surrenders to the Supreme Lord and His glories, by such an endeavor, ye prayasho, Ajita, the Supreme Lord who is Ajita, unconquerable, becomes conquered. The Supreme Lord, unconquerable in the three worlds, but He becomes conquerable. He becomes conquered by this process of humble surrender to hearing and repeating, by the process of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. By these processes, one can conquer the inconquerable because one attracts the grace of the Supreme Lord by the process of devotional service. So therefore, what is very important is understanding that it is beyond my power, one has to somehow attract the grace of the Supreme Lord. Understanding that it is only the grace that is going to save me. Srila Prabhupada writes similar points in 1.2.17 purport. Shrimatam swakna Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridyantasto hi abhadrani vidunoti surutsatam. In that verse purport also Srila Prabhupada writes, so that verse and the next verse, Nashra prayesha bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya. These are two very important verses for sadhakas, which are describing essentially the processes of bhajan kriya, anartha nivritti and nishtha. And so therefore, in the process of bhajan kriya, it is very important that as one is performing bhajan kriya, we're all performing bhajan kriya, so one is definitely going to face so many different obstacles and so many different challenges in one's practices. So many allurements by the material energy. So allurements can be gross, can be subtle, in so many different ways one could be allured. But at that time, when one surrenders to the Lord by hearing about the Lord, by practicing devotional service, then ultimately vidhunoti surat satam, because the Supreme Lord is surat satam, because He is the best well-wishing friend of the devotees, and the devotee surrenders, then it's the Lord who cleanses the heart. It is not within our power to cleanse. And so there Srila Prabhupada writes that great stalwarts, this is the words that Srila Prabhupada uses, great stalwarts in the devotional line have fallen victims to the material energy in the form of wine and in the form of money and women. And so therefore, when one takes to the process of hearing and chanting, I'm paraphrasing, when one takes to the process, then one receives help from the Lord. When one receives help from the Lord, then the process becomes easy. On one's own, very difficult. And so therefore, if one thinks on one's own, I will practice devotional service, I will chant 64 rounds every day, I will read Bhagavatam, I will do this, I will do that, I'll go to Vrindavan, I'll go here, I'll go there, and I'll do things on my own. Sorry, sir, it doesn't work that way. Because on my own, it is not possible. Maya is so powerful. And therefore, one has to humble oneself in front of the Lord and His devotees, surrender to them, perform services, attract their grace. Twice in that purport, again Prabhupada repeats in that same purport, that ultimately it's only by the grace of the Supreme Lord that one can overcome these obstacles on the path of devotional service. On one's own, it is not possible. That's what we just read. Even though one may be in direct association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can be allured. That is the power of the illusory energy. And so therefore, in the fourth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the teachings of Sanat Kumar to Prithu Maharaj, so there also, Sanat Kumar is telling this very important verse, and that is, Yad pada pallava pankaja palasha vilasa bhaktya karmashayam gratitam udgratayanti santaha tadvanna rikta matayo yatayo piruddha shroto ganastamaranam bhaja vasudevam. So there he talks about karmashayam gratitam. So this karmashayam, asha for karma, that means the fruitive mentality, the mentality to enjoy, it is so deep-rooted. Hard knot, gratitam, it forms a hard knot. So basically it is the false ego, which is the very tight knot. So those who are rikta mataya literally means the mind is empty. Rikta mataya. So basically, it is talking about the yogis and the jnanis who don't take shelter of the Supreme Lord. And so they make lot of endeavors. But still, they are not able to untie this very tight knot of the fruitive mentality, the enjoying mentality. But then he says, Udgratayanti santaha. Udgratayanti means they are able to untie. The devotees are able to untie. Why they are able to untie? Yat pada pankaja palasha vilasa bhaktya. Vilas, Prabhupada explains, vilas means enjoyment. So when one relishes devotional service, one develops such a higher taste that because of the higher taste in devotional service, one is very easily able to give up the lower desires and the strong tendencies to enjoy this material world. And therefore, in that purport, Srila Prabhupada describes that therefore on the path of devotional service, it is very important that one develop the higher taste, one develops superior desires in serving the Lord. And it's only by the development of the higher taste, it is possible to give up the lower taste and give up the fruitive mentality to enjoy this world. Otherwise, it is very, very difficult. Ultimately, it's only by the grace of the Supreme Lord that it is going to be possible. And so, we find here, Narad Muni is telling, so what is the solution? The solution has been given by the Supreme Lord Himself. Leelavatare swayasha pradipakam. Therefore, the Lord has descended into this world in so many Leela avatars. And He has presented all these beautiful pastimes, which in the purport is being mentioned, which is like an actor playing his part on stage. So, He performs all these various leelas and He attracts the attention of all the jivas. And this leela avatare swayasha, it is swayasha. The Lord is increasing His own glories by these pastimes. But by hearing them, what happens? This is like pradipakam. This is like deepa. This is like a torchlight by which the conditioned souls in the tamo andham of material existence, they can come out of this material existence, which is like a very dark place. Tamasoma jyotirgama. So that those pastimes of the Lord act as pradipakam, act as like a jyoti, by which, so that is made to blaze. Prajvalayat. So that the Lord Himself is blazing. He is only giving that torch, the torchlight of all these beautiful pastimes the Lord only is giving, by which we can read them, we can hear them, and we can become attracted to these wonderful pastimes, to the wonderful teachings of the Supreme Lord, and that is how one can come out of the dark material existence, which is full of so many miseries. And therefore, Sutta Goswami, in the beginning of the second chapter of the first canto, he is offering his respects and is offering his obeisances and is glorifying his spiritual master, Srila Shukdev Goswami. Yasvanubhavam akila shruti saramekam adhyatma deepam atitirshatam tamondham samsarinam karunayaha puranak guhyam tam vyasa sonam upayami gurum muninam. So here he is glorifying Shukdev Goswami, that Shukdev Goswami, he has given Akhila Shruti Saram. He has given the cream of all the Vedic literatures. And that cream of all the Vedic literatures is what? Adhyatma Deepam. It is a transcendental torch. And the transcendental torch, the torch helps one to come out of the dark place. So by this transcendental torch, Atitirshatam means one can cross Tamo Andham, the material existence, which is a very dark place. And that he has done. Samsarinam Karunayaha, that he has done out of his causeless mercy. He has given the Purana Guhyam, that is the Srimad Bhagavatam, unto such son of Vyasadev, Tam Vyasa Sunam Upayami Gurum Muninam. I offer my respectful obeisances. And so in Parampara, Srila Prabhupada has also, out of his causeless mercy on all the conditioned souls, he has given all these literatures. The Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, so many books Srila Prabhupada has given for the same purpose as Shukdev Goswami has given, for the same purpose. Karunayaha, out of his causeless mercy, Karuna on all the conditioned souls. Srila Prabhupada traveled to the West, traveled the entire world 14 times, and sat late at night, got up early in the morning every day. And when the whole world was sleeping, Srila Prabhupada took so much endeavor to give us these books out of his causeless mercy for all of us, the conditioned souls, so that these literatures act as the torchlight by which we can come out of the dark place of material existence, which is full of suffering. And so therefore, as we were saying, what is very important to overcome the very strong influence of Maya is to attract the mercy of Guru and Krishna. And so therefore, in order to attract the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, it's very important that we follow his instructions. And in order to follow his instructions, we need to know what are his instructions. If we don't know what are the instructions, then what will we follow? And those instructions are given where? Within his books, within the Bhaktivedanta purports. And therefore, to very scrutinizingly read these Bhaktivedanta purports and understand what are Srila Prabhupada's instructions, by which we can progress in devotional service and come out of this dark material existence, plays a very important role. And so therefore, it's very important that we try to please Srila Prabhupada by remaining within the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, which he has described as his own body, and perform different services to please Srila Prabhupada, to please the Vaishnavas. And yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado, then we can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then when the Supreme Lord is pleased, then the Supreme Lord will call his illusory energy, Maya, and say, now release this conditioned soul. Enough. Now release him. That is the only way by which the conditioned soul can be released from the strong clutches. Deveshu gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mamevaye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. So for that, one needs to helplessly take shelter of the Supreme Lord, of the Acharyas, of the devotees, by helplessly calling out to the Supreme Lord through the chanting of his holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. To summarize, today we have basically discussed the power of the material energy, the illusory energy, which binds one in samsara. And we have seen that how that illusory energy is so strong that even when one comes to devotional service, even though one may be in touch with the Supreme Lord, his pure devotees, still one can be allured by the material energy. And so therefore, understanding that power of the illusory energy, it is very important that one attract the mercy of Guru and Krishna by reading his literatures, by glorifying the Supreme Lord in great humility, when one surrenders to the Lord and his devotees and performs the practice of devotional service by which to attract the mercy of Guru and Krishna, by their mercy it is possible for one to come out of the clutches of material existence. And that is what Narad Muni is telling Krishna. My dear Krishna, you are glorifying me, that I can award fearlessness to everyone, but actually I cannot award fearlessness. Ultimately, it is you only who can award fearlessness. And for that, you are performing all these pastimes in all your Leela avataras, by which the conditioned souls like us can come out of the state of fearlessness, that is the material existence. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So if so many senior devotees, Mukund Madhav Prabhu, Ram Prabhu would like to add something, any comments, please?
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. In third canto Bhagavatam also, Lord Kapil Dev, he instructs Kardama Muni that you take sannyas and give Abhay Pradhan to all your dependents. So he actually outsourced because we don't have direct access to Krishna right now. So, but in order to become fearless, actually Krishna gave outsourced, Abhay Pradhan. He said, Prabhupada writes, it is the duty of the sannyasis to give Abhay Pradhan to all the devotees, like that. So it is possible. That is why Prabhupada is Abhay Charanarvind, like that. So it is there. Etaddi Aturichitanam Matra Sparshachayamo Bhava Sindhu Plava Drishto Haricharyan Varnanam. So all those people who are disturbed by all these threefold miseries and contact of the senses with the sense objects, in order to cross over the this samsara sagar, one should discuss Krishna's pastimes. So if we discuss Krishna's pastimes, it is just like Samashritaya Padapalavam. The samsara sagar becomes like a water in the calf's hoof print, which can easily cross. So Krishna discussing, that's why Srila Prabhupada instructed every day read Krishna book.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare.
Actually, I was reading to add to the discussion. What's that verse? Nitya Sister Krishna Prema Sajya Kavanaya Shravanaya Shuratiti Kare Udaya. That all living entities are naturally Satchitananda, full of knowledge, eternal and blissful. So the process is not something that we have to gain from something outside. It's actually already there. And this process that the Acharya has given us is Prabhupada gives the example. I always love this analogy. He said you have a match. And in the match, within the match is heat and light. So long as you take the match and you strike it against the flint, immediately fire appears. So this process is the same. The sadhana bhakti, the whole process is set up by the acharyas, and so allows us to ignite that love of God that's already there within all of us. And again, I'm traveling all over India again, and I'm seeing that all of you, I'm still reminded of the book. You have taken birth here in Bharat Bhumi. You already performed so much activities from previous lives. I got to Sukriti so much that you only have to do 50%. 50%. It's like, how great is that? 50%. And then after that, no more taking birth. So I'm just, I'm in awe because every day I'm seeing this over and over and over and over again. So it's to add to what Prabhu said, that just take to the process. And what's the other one? Lolium, that intensive greed. We have the greed for it, lolium. And when you have that, Krishna will reciprocate. It's reciprocation. So I just wanted to share that with you. Hare Krishna. Anyone?
Hare. Okay, if you have maybe question? Okay, one question.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
हरे कृष्ण।
हिंदी में बोल सकता हूँ?
हाँ चलो।
जब से सृष्टि हुआ तब से माया शक्ति का कार्य चल रहा है। भगवान शास्त्र में क्या है, कृष्ण जितना शक्तिवान है माया भी वैसा ही। तो साधक हम तो सोचते हैं कि मंगला आरती आना, गुरु पूजा क्लास, तो हमको माया नहीं कर सकता अटैक। लेकिन माया उससे भी चालाक है, अलग अलग ट्रिक में एक प्लानिंग करते हैं तो वो दूसरा प्लानिंग। तो हम इंटरनल बाहर से अथॉरिटी भी सोचते हैं कि हाँ मंगला आरती आ रहा है, क्लास आ रहा है, लेकिन इंटरनली हमारा सोच दूसरा कुछ भी, सबका अलग अलग। तो इंटरनली हम शरणागत कितने हो रहे हैं, कैसा हो रहे हैं, ऐसा कैसा हम जान पाएंगे कैसा है?
तो भक्ति का प्रोसेस जो है वो केवल बाह्य नहीं है। तो बाह्य रूप से हम बहुत कुछ कार्य कर सकते हैं, लेकिन अंतरंग दृष्टिकोण से हमारे शरणागत क्या है वो देखना भी ज़रूर है। तो जो भी कार्य हम कर रहे हैं भक्ति में, उसके पीछे हेतु क्या है, हम किस हेतु के साथ वो कार्य कर रहे हैं वो जानना ज़रूरी है। तो भक्ति का मतलब क्या है? अन्याभिलाषित शून्यम ज्ञान कर्मादि अनावृतम आनुकूल्यन कृष्णानुशीलम भक्तिरुत्तमा। तो अगर हमारा हेतु केवल गुरु और भगवान की संतुष्टि है तो वो असलियत में शुद्ध भक्ति है, अन्याभिलाषित शून्य। नहीं तो अगर हम भक्ति के कार्य कर रहे हैं लेकिन साथ साथ में कुछ भौतिक इच्छाओं के साथ अगर हम करेंगे तो फिर वो एक कलमश है और उसके वजह से हमारी भक्ति में जो प्रगति है वो कम हो जाती है। तो इसलिए जब हम गुरु के आदेशों को पालन करते हैं, एक सही इच्छा के साथ, एक सही हेतु के साथ उन आदेशों को पालन करना यह अत्यंत आवश्यक है। नहीं तो जैसे कि श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु रूप गोस्वामी को बताते हैं, भक्ति लता के साथ बहुत सारे घास फूस जो अनर्थ हैं वो भी साथ में आ जाते हैं। जैसे हम भक्ति करते हैं तो पूजा, लाभ, प्रतिष्ठा, ये सब चीज़ आ जाते हैं, और अगर हम इन चीज़ों से आसक्त रहेंगे और अगर हमें पता नहीं होगा कि वास्तव में ये बाधा है मेरे भक्ति में, तो फिर भक्ति में आगे नहीं बढ़ पाएंगे। बल्कि क्या होता है, उसके वजह से फिर हम अपराध कर बैठते हैं, फिर भक्ति में आगे नहीं बढ़ सकते हैं। तो इसलिए जैसे कि हम ये तात्पर्य में पढ़ रहे थे, श्रील प्रभुपाद जी लिखते हैं, कॉन्शियस, वन नीड्स टू बी कॉन्शियस, मीन्स हमें जो भी हम कर रहे भक्ति में, हम एक सही चेतना के साथ और यह सोचते हुए कि मैं यह कार्य क्यों कर रहा हूँ और क्या मैं सही दिशा में जा रहा हूँ। वन नीड्स टू बी कॉन्शियस ऑफ व्हाट आई एम डूइंग। तो इसलिए श्रील प्रभुपाद जी ने हमारे सोसाइटी का नाम क्या दिया है, इंटरनेशनल सोसाइटी फॉर कृष्णा कॉन्शियसनेस। तो वो कॉन्शियसनेस क्या है, वो चेतना क्या है, वो बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। भगवद-गीता में भगवान अर्जुन को बताया, माम अनुस्मर युद्ध च, केवल युद्ध करने के लिए नहीं कहा, भगवान को स्मरण करते हुए युद्ध करने के लिए। तो इसलिए ये दोनों साथ साथ में चलना ये अत्यंत आवश्यक है, क्योंकि जो सूक्ष्म शरीर में जो चेतना बनती है, वो चेतना के वजह से ही या उसका परिणाम हमें अगला स्थूल शरीर प्राप्त होता है। तो इसलिए इस सूक्ष्म शरीर को ट्रेनिंग देना और इस सूक्ष्म शरीर की जो चेतना है इसको बदलना ये अत्यंत आवश्यक है। तो इसलिए केवल शारीरिक रूप से या एक बाह्य रूप से अलग अलग कार्य करना वो पर्याप्त नहीं है। हमारी चेतना क्या है वो देखना भी अत्यंत आवश्यक है जब हम भक्तिमय कार्य करते हैं। ठीक है, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। थैंक यू वेरी मच। हरे कृष्ण।